It had only been 2 years since World War II ended. America was slowly recovering, rebuilding itself from the damage of war. Life was finally starting to feel normal again. Everything seemed calm. Almost too calm. But that peace didn't last long. On a cold morning in January 1947, a brutal crime shattered that silence and shook the entire nation. What happened on January 14th would later be remembered as one of the most shocking and mysterious murders in post-war American history. A case that, even today, remains unsolved. At first, no one really noticed her. A young woman with dark, curly hair had been staying at a hotel in Los Angeles. She didn't stand out much at the time, just another face in a big city. But soon, she would become the center of a nationwide obsession. The next morning, January 15th, a woman was walking through a park with her young daughter. As they moved along the path, something unusual caught her eye in the distance. It looked like a mannequin lying in the grass. But as she stepped closer, she realized the horrifying truth. It wasn't a mannequin. It was a human body, frozen in shock. She quickly called the police. When authorities arrived and examined the scene, they uncovered something far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. The victim was a young woman. Her body had been cleanly cut in half at the waist. There was no blood at the scene. Investigators later determined that her body had been completely drained before being placed there. Several organs were missing, and the body had been carefully washed almost as if someone wanted to display it. But the most chilling detail was her face. The corners of her mouth had been sliced open, extending all the way toward her ears, creating a grotesque, unnatural smile. A method known as a Glasgow smile. It's the same kind of disturbing feature often seen in fictional characters like the Joker. But this wasn't fiction. This was real. And this horrifying case would soon become known by a name the world would never forget. After the discovery of the body, the media exploded. Newspapers, radio stations, and reporters across the country couldn't stop talking about it. The case quickly turned into a national obsession. According to former Los Angeles police sergeant and historian Glenn Martin, the nature of the crime was deeply disturbing. He described it as not just brutal, but strangely precise, almost as if it involved elements of ritualistic behavior. As the investigation intensified, police began rounding up suspects. In total, around 50 individuals, both men and women, were questioned or taken into custody. What made the case even more confusing was that some of them actually confessed. But none of those confessions led to any real answers. Instead of solving the mystery, they only made things more complicated, adding layers of doubt and uncertainty. Nothing seemed to fit perfectly. And then another theory began to emerge. Martin suggested that this murder might not be entirely disconnected from Hollywood. The victim had been living in Los Angeles, right in the heart of the entertainment world. She had dreams, big dreams. She wanted to become an actress. To make a name for herself in Hollywood. But somewhere along that journey, something went terribly wrong, and what was supposed to be a story of ambition and success turned into one of the darkest mysteries in American history. But who was she, really? Her real name was Elizabeth Short. She was the third of 5 sisters, born into a lower middle-class family in Massachusetts, United States. Her early life wasn't easy. During the economic struggles of the 1930s, her father suffered heavy financial losses and eventually abandoned the family. Left behind, Elizabeth grew up with her mother and sisters, trying to build a life from very little. She attended school for a while, but didn't stay long. Driven by a dream much bigger than her circumstances, she left everything behind and moved to Los Angeles. Hollywood. The land of fame, glamour, and opportunity. At least, that's what she believed. To survive, she took a job as a waitress. But that wasn't her goal. Her real ambition was clear. She wanted to become an actress. To step into the world of movies, to be seen on the silver screen. She would often spend time around Hollywood, hoping for a chance, an opportunity, anything that could bring her closer to that dream. But then comes the question that still haunts this case: what really happened to her? That is the biggest mystery of all. Investigators tried to piece together the final days of Elizabeth's life, but the truth remains unclear. Still, based on various clues, a possible timeline begins to take shape. Elizabeth was last seen alive on January 9th. That day, her boyfriend, Robert, dropped her off at the Biltmore Hotel, where she planned to stay for a few days. Then she vanished. A week later, her body was discovered in an open field less than a mile away from that very hotel. But the story doesn't end there. On January 24th, something chilling happened. The editor of the Los Angeles Examiner received a phone call. The person on the other end claimed to be the killer. To prove it, he sent a package through the mail. Inside the envelope were Elizabeth's personal belongings, her birth certificate, identification cards, photographs, and even a diary belonging to a man named Mark Hansen. It was as if the killer wasn't just hiding, he was playing a game. The package sent to the newspaper held another chilling detail. Both the envelope and everything inside it had been carefully wiped clean with gasoline. Whoever sent it made sure of one thing: there would be no fingerprints. No trace, no identity. It was calculated, deliberate. As the investigation continued, police tracked down the name mentioned in the package: Mark Hansen. He was a nightclub owner in Hollywood, someone who knew Elizabeth personally. According to investigators, Hansen and Elizabeth had developed a friendship over time. But there was more to the story. Reports suggested that Hansen had made multiple advances toward her, offers she repeatedly turned down. That alone was enough to make him a prime suspect. Naturally, police focused their attention on him first. They questioned him, examined his background, and looked for any possible connection to the crime. But in the end, nothing concrete surfaced. No solid evidence, no direct link. Hansen walked free. With their main suspect going nowhere, investigators turned to another lead: the diary found in the package. Every name written inside it became a person of interest. One by one, they were all questioned. The case grew larger and more chaotic. At its peak, nearly 750 investigators were involved, spreading across Los Angeles, chasing leads, collecting evidence, trying to piece together the puzzle. It was one of the most intense investigations the city had ever seen. And yet, despite all that effort, no answers. No killer. Just a mystery that refused to be solved. As investigators dug deeper, one thing became increasingly clear: Elizabeth was most likely not killed at the location where her body was found. The condition of the body suggested something far more calculated. The way it had been precisely cut in half indicated skill. Not something random. Not something careless. Many investigators began to believe that the killer had medical knowledge, possibly a surgeon or someone trained in anatomy. Following that theory, police even searched nearby medical colleges. Students and staff were questioned. Records were examined. But once again, nothing. No solid lead, no breakthrough. Then, on January 26th, the case took another disturbing turn. The killer sent another message to the press. This time, he claimed he would surrender himself. Police quickly prepared for the meeting, waiting at the exact location mentioned in the letter. But the killer never showed up. Instead, another letter arrived. In it, he wrote something chilling: "I've changed my mind. Killing Dahlia was the right thing to do." At that moment, it became clear: this wasn't just a murderer. This was someone who enjoyed the attention, someone who was playing with the system. And as time passed, the mystery only grew deeper. Over the years, countless suspects emerged. The police already had many, but things escalated when a $10,000 reward was announced for information leading to the killer. Suddenly, people started coming forward, claiming they were the murderer. Confession after confession. But every single one of them turned out to be false. The case became a maze of lies, theories, and dead ends. For decades, researchers, journalists, and authors have tried to uncover the truth. Books have been written, investigations reopened. Some even pointed fingers at their own family members. One thing many investigators agreed on: the killer was likely a medical man. Based on this theory, some reports even suggested an army corporal as a top suspect. In 1991, a woman named Janice came forward with a shocking claim: she believed her own father was the killer. She even wrote a book about it. Then there was Leslie Dillon, a man once considered one of the strongest suspects by the Los Angeles police. But yet again, there wasn't enough evidence to take legal action. Years later, another claim surfaced. The son of a former investigator revealed that his father had once come extremely close to catching Dillon. But according to him, corruption within the police department allowed the suspect to slip away. And just like that, The truth disappeared once again. Almost a century later. The question still remains, who killed Elizabeth Short? And more importantly, how did they get away with it? Maybe the answer is lost forever. Or maybe it's still out there, waiting to be discovered.